Hello, my name is Elle Burnham, and I'm creating this video for On the Mark Education. First, I'll begin by giving a brief introduction about myself. I was born in Toronto, Ontario. I'm a Canadian. My full name is Elle Burnham, but I go by the nickname Elle. I completed a bachelor's in East Asian Studies at York University, and then I went on to the University of Toronto and completed a master's in the same discipline. In terms of my work experience, I've been teaching in Asia for 8 years now. I began in China and I was working at the Language Institute of Texas. There I was teaching adults and middle-aged school students. The adults had had English speaking classes that I was teaching them. And in terms of the middle-aged school students, I was their literature teacher. So we would have readings that we'd have to do every single week. We would do book discussions and they would have to create reports about those readings. Then when I was in Taiwan, I was there for about 9 months, and at Harbin English School, I taught younger students. So these were preschool age students and young elementary school students. And in that case, I was mostly a focus on their speaking skills. So we would give them, let's say, a weekly vocabulary that they'd have to learn, and we would read if we did any readings at all, it would be really, really simple books for them because we wanted them to kind of get the fundamentals of English, and that was what we were focusing on. After I taught there, I was in South Korea from May 2013 until November 2016, and I was teaching at CDI. I began at their Jangan branch in Suwon, and then later I was working at Gwanak in Seoul. We taught all the disciplines there. So we had courses for speaking, listening, reading, writing. We also had TOEFL preparation courses and speech writing classes, which I'd also taught. We also did something there that's called tablet-based learning. So this is something that's a bit different from all the other schools that I taught at, because tablet-based learning is when both the teacher and the student, they would be using a tablet in order to have a more interactive experience while they're within the classroom. So they would have to submit assignments or create presentations using their tablets. And sometimes they would have to also show those presentations that they created in front of the class. So after I'd worked in South Korea, I then went to Japan for a year, and I was at ECC from June 2017 until March 2018. At ECC, we taught only speaking classes. So I had a mix of adult and elementary age school students. The adult classes, we had a focus on discussing things such as what's going on in the news, politics, economics. Sometimes I also taught some business English classes as well with the adults. And then with the elementary age students, it was a lot more simple. They might have weekly sentences that they'd have to learn, and it might be in a question and answer format, and then they would have vocabulary in which to answer those questions. So an example would be, what do you play? And maybe the weekly vocabulary was, baseball, basketball, volleyball, soccer, badminton. And then they would have to say, I play whatever vocabulary word they wish to use. So that was while I was at ECC. After I taught at ECC, I went to South Korea once more. I was teaching at KAIS in Busan, and I was there from October 2018 until this year, September 2019. I was the ELA teacher, the language arts teacher at my school. This meant that I was teaching primarily literature to our elementary and middle school age students. I did, however, also have private tutoring classes with adults. And in those courses, it was similar to what I was doing at ECC in Japan, where it was mostly focused on developing their speaking skills. So we would talk about more complex topics like economics, politics, etc., and they'd have to be able to express themselves and their opinions during these courses. So now, the reasons why I want to go to Moscow. Well, I went to Moscow this year, and I was visiting a friend while I was out there, and I enjoyed being there. I felt very limited from my lack of language skills, so it is something I'm hoping to improve. I would like to learn some Russian. I would also love to learn more about the history and the culture, and it's just so different from any other place that I've been to. Obviously, I'm raised in North America, but I've spent most of my adult life in Asia. So I would love to go to someplace that's new, different, and have new experiences. I'm always willing to go someplace new and to learn new and different things. And that's primarily been the reason why I've been outside of Canada for most of my adult life. And I really love teaching English. What I think makes me a very strong candidate is that I'm always willing to go and try new things, and I always consider the needs of my students as well whenever I'm with them in the classroom. So I understand that many students, they all have different reasons for wanting to learn English. I always consider the reason why they want to learn English. So it could be for maybe they want to improve test scores if they're taking like a TOEFL test, for example, or maybe they want to improve their speaking capabilities. Maybe they have friends who are English speakers. Maybe they want to go and live or study in America. Whatever those reasons are, I always consider that, and I always put the needs of the students over everything else. I think that they should be satisfied with the education that they're receiving, and they should also be satisfied with the instructor who's giving them that education. One other thing as well is I always try to have a very strong relationship at whatever school I'm at. I do believe that the staff will be the primary means of communication between myself and maybe the parents of my students. So I want to make sure I'm always communicating with the staff, letting them know about any issues that any students would have, and always trying to find solutions so that the students get the most of their education. Well, these are just some of the reasons why I think I would be a good candidate. So if you've been impressed by any of this, or if you feel that I'm appropriate for your school, please obviously contact me, and I hope that I get a chance to hear from you soon. Thank you so much.